reparations correspondent for the UK. Earlier this week I spoke to Stuart Harrison about his new presentation entitled The Dust of the Earth, which will be played after this conversation. Here is Stuart Harrison now.
Hello.
Hi Stu, nice to speak to you again, mate. Thanks for coming on to the show again to explain the presentation that I'm just about to play after this interview. Can you tell us something about the interview? Is it Dust of the Earth, is it?
Yeah, you would have to be sort of a Bible reader to know what that phrase even points to.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading a website recently, and it identified, someone had a revelation that specifically identified the dust of the earth and what it was. In Genesis 3:14 and 15, the serpent is cursed by God to have to eat the dust of the earth for the rest of its life. Mm-hmm. And it clearly identified what that dust actually was. And it's a verse that there are two verses together that have really confused people ever since the Bible's ever been written.
Yeah. One very important thing about the presentation, and you mentioned it on that interview we had last year concerning your book, the scars on your forehead, and we're going to show some photographs of those during the course of your presentation. Now, can you refresh the viewer and listener about what happened, how you got these scars? Because I find it very interesting, because you've sent me two pictures, one with deep embedded gouges in your forehead, and then another picture which I assume is maybe 10 or 15 minutes afterwards, and your forehead's as clear as day. So just to refresh the viewer and listener, how did you get these scars, Stuart?
Just to quickly say, the one with the scars is within a few minutes of me waking up.
Yeah.
And the photos without the scars is just a few hours later that same day.
Right.
I suppose I better just tell the whole story. It was in my very first months of learning anything about spiritual warfare, and I was basically reading the Dr. Rebecca Brown series of books, very, very hardcore from a Christian angle, spirituality and spiritual warfare. And basically I was going through a lot of learning processes, trying to discover what had happened to me when I had this deliverance experience at the church. So I was trying to find out what the church weren't telling me, because they wouldn't tell me anything about what had happened and why I was on the floor for half an hour breathing out these entities or something.
Right.
So I researched it myself. Anyway, one day while I was watching this Christian videotape, the message on the video, the man was reading out a passage in Isaiah about the prophecy about Emmanuel, the prophecy about Messiah coming to the earth and what generation he would be born in and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. And
it just went very, very fuzzy and very hazy, so I did all the usual things. It was a VHS cassette, very old, one of those big slam down the lid kind of video machines.
Yeah.
And I did everything you could to clean the tapes. They used to have the old cassette head cleaners and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing was happening. And I just read a few days before about how demonic or spiritual entities can affect electrical objects.
Right.
And I just thought, well, let's try this as an experiment. And to anoint an object or to basically sanctify an area or protect it from spirits, people can use oil as a symbolic substitute for blood.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I dabbed a bit of oil on the video cassette, dabbed a bit of oil on the tape machine and the TV, sat back in my big comfortable armchair and just said, as a total experiment,
mm-hmm.
I said, if anything that I cannot see, if anything evil is blocking this message or trying to affect this cassette in any way whatsoever, I bind it in Jesus' name and cast it out into the abyss in Jesus' name. And just sat back comfortably in my chair. Nothing happened for the moment. I rewound the tape and played it, and it got to the same point, and all of a sudden this, like a Ghostbusters thing really, is
mm-hmm.
what started off as a fairly small head sort of very quickly came out and grew very, very fast right from the center of the TV screen. And it didn't stop moving, but as it came out it grew very fast into this sort of 6.5, 7 foot tall, hateful looking creature. Reptilian,
right.
Massive teeth, massive claws, big long tail, and as it flew out of the window which is above and behind me, it was like growling the most hateful spitting the most. I've never seen such hatred in a face.
Right.
And it just, as it went above me and out of the window, it just slashed its arm down across my head. And unfortunately, all I could do was move my head because I was locked in this huge, big, comfortable armchair. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have time to do anything but just dodge my head to the right a little bit in an attempt to roll with the blow. I didn't think it hurt me because I didn't feel anything, not physically. It all happened too quickly for me to even get scared.
Right.
Because fear, I suppose, takes a while to sort of well up. But of course, within sort of 2-3 seconds, and it had gone. And it wasn't until afterwards I started shaking.
yeah, that's usually the case. Actually, it happens every time. When I've gone rock climbing and I've gone into a pretty difficult situation at the time, you don't think about it. You think, oh yes, this could be dangerous, this could be life-threatening, but you just go ahead and do it. But when you come off the hill and you're lying in your sleeping bag in your tent, that's when the fear takes over of what could have happened. And anyway, back to the point. Did you feel any physical pain when this reptilian entity swiped you across the forehead then?
No, nothing. I didn't feel anything physical at all, but I could see it with my physical eyes as clear as I could see anything.
Right.
So whether or not for that few seconds my spirit eyes were opened, I don't know, or whether or not the fact that it was cast out of this thing, I was. I don't know. Afterwards, I tend to think that I was granted the ability to see it momentarily, just to solidify my belief and knowledge in their existence.
Right. I mean, if I woke up in the morning after having that type of experience, and then every morning I see these scars in my forehead, I would be scared. I mean, have you done any research as to why you keep getting these scars at all? Has that thought ever crossed your mind?
Well, unfortunately, it's not. I have tried to research it, but it's very quickly draws a blank.
Right.
Because there's nothing out there really on it.
Right.
So I've been left to pray about it, fast about it, and come up with my own, what I feel led to believe about that. And I think it's something to do with the fact that when we're all asleep, our physical bodies sort of lessen in usefulness, and our spirit bodies, which are there all the time, of course, are given a more of a chance to come to the fore, if you like. And I've got this theory that when I wake up in the morning, it takes everybody a few minutes for that physical body, as it's waking up, to overtake the spirit body and to once again become the primary thing.
It's that when you wake up, it's that sort of hazy feeling of you're not yourself until you actually wake up. Yeah,
that's right. It's almost like there's some kind of switching over period that is, within a few minutes of being awake, and within 10 to 15 minutes, it's hardly noticeable. Right.
That's very, very interesting and very scary, Stuart. I want to talk a bit about your trip to London, because you submitted some presentations which the Edge viewer can see if they click the on-demand link at the bottom of the TV player. It's in the folder Edge Special Reports and Presentations there. Before we get on to that, you came up to my area a few months ago in North Wales. What did you think of the place, Stuart?
Drop dead gorgeous, isn't it, really?
It's absolutely beautiful, yeah. And hopefully within this year you and I are going to put a documentary together of the occultic activity around here, and we do have occultic activity in this neck of the woods in North Wales, and we came across a couple of sites, didn't we? One aptly named World's End, just under a rock called Demon's Rock, which is next to a rock called Arthur's Rock, which again is next to a rock called Maiden's Rock. And we're 90% sure that this site is an occultic ritual site, aren't we? Because there was evidence there.
Yeah, I would say 100% sure, really.
Yeah.
A, because of the incredibly well-hidden location. B, because of all the stones were set in the ground that these people would be standing on in their positions, which you came up with, and we, it was just obvious when we all stood round and walked around the place, and you could see where everybody would be standing during their rituals and ceremonies. Yeah,
That's
it became very clear, didn't it, as we just examined the area.
Because there was an area of land which is very, very well eroded, as though a group of people would be standing there to be led into a certain place, wasn't there? There was a track leading up to this place, and that there was a crystalline track, which the bedrock round there is limestone, and there are calcite deposits there.